You're listening to an African Elements top news story for April 9, 2025. Please visit our website at africanelements.org for more daily news. Supreme Court blocks CA order reinstating workers. Thousands of federal workers find themselves caught in a legal whirlwind. The Supreme Court recently stepped in, putting a temporary stop to a lower court order. This order would have forced the government to rehire about 16,000 probationary employees. These workers were part of mass firings initiated during the Trump administration. Now their futures hang in the balance while the courts sort things out. This situation highlights the precarious nature of probationary status in federal jobs. These positions, often seen as pathways to stable careers, come with fewer protections. For many in our community seeking opportunity through government service, this uncertainty hits hard. The legal battles focus on complex issues like who has the right to sue. However, the real-world impact falls on individuals and families facing job insecurity. The Supreme Court issued an emergency stay, a temporary pause on the lower court's decision. This 7-2 unsigned order specifically blocked the reinstatement of workers across 6 federal agencies targeted by a California court ruling. The core reason cited by the majority was that the nonprofits bringing the challenge lacked sufficient legal standing. In essence, the court felt these groups couldn't prove they were directly harmed by the layoffs. An emergency stay isn't a final ruling on the merits of the case itself. Instead, it preserves the existing situation while appeals continue. Granting a stay requires showing a reasonable probability that at least 4 justices believe the case deserves a full review. It also involves weighing potential irreparable harm and the public interest. Nevertheless, this pause means those 16,000 workers remain off the job sites, even if they are still technically employed for now. The Supreme Court's decision hinged heavily on the concept of legal standing. This legal principle requires plaintiffs, the ones bringing the lawsuit, to show they have suffered a direct and personal harm from the action they are challenging. The court's majority decided the nonprofits challenging the layoffs didn't meet this bar. They viewed the nonprofits' harm as indirect or third-party harm, which is generally insufficient in employment disputes. Essentially, the court prioritized the need for those directly impacted, like the fired workers themselves, to bring the challenge. While nonprofits often advocate for others, they typically need to represent specific harmed individuals or prove their own organizational mission was directly impaired. Conversely, Justices Sotomayor and Jackson dissented. Their disagreement focused more on procedural issues and the handling of the emergency application, rather than directly refuting the merits of the standing argument itself. The legal landscape surrounding these Trump admin layoffs is complex, creating a patchwork of policy enforcement across the country. The Supreme Court stay specifically targeted the order originating from a California court. That order aimed broadly, covering the 16,000 workers across 6 agencies nationwide. However, a separate court order from Maryland remains active, at least for now. The Maryland injunction is narrower in scope but still significant. It currently covers employees in approximately 20 different federal agencies, offering protection in 19 states, plus the District of Columbia. This creates a confusing geographic divide where a worker's job security might depend on which court's jurisdiction applies. Consequently, the Department of Justice continues its legal fight, actively appealing the Maryland order as well. Why is the government fighting so hard against reinstating these workers? The Department of Justice, DOJ, presented arguments focusing on operational difficulties. They highlighted the massive financial costs and logistical challenges associated with keeping thousands of employees on paid administrative leave while the cases proceed. This essentially means paying people not to perform their regular duties, which strains agency budgets. Furthermore, officials expressed concern about future workforce management. They argued that reinstating these workers under court order would complicate future personnel decisions. Specifically, they claimed that terminating any of these employees later, even for valid reasons, might require seeking court approval first. Thus, the government sees the reinstatement order not just as a temporary financial burden, but also as a potential long-term obstacle to managing its workforce effectively. Copyright African Elements.